Hello everyone, it's Jen. I'm back finishing the collection for the Doodlebug French Kiss. In my first video, I made 35 cards and I got an overwhelming response to see how I could finish up what I had left. So when I started out, I had a few sheets of 12 by 12 pattern paper as well as the 6 by 6 paper pad. I had the 12 by 12 sticker sheet and then also the package of ephemera. So I'm just showing you here, here's my scrap papers. I have a bunch of those cut aparts, which I don't really end up using, those little 2 by 2 squares. But let's jump in to the first of 12 cards, and I decided to make a slimline card. I had quite a bit of that one sheet of 12 by 12 paper, the one that I have in my hand here, which is plaid. And so I decided to use my Whimsy Stamps Marquee Slimline die. I love this die. It's super fun to create multiple little scenes on one slimline card, and my slimline cards measure 3.5 by 8.5. That's, I would say, probably one of the most popular sizes for a slimline card, and I just like it because it is good use for your 8.5 by 11 paper. So I am backing that onto some kind of light aqua blue cardstock. And I trimmed it down so you could still see a little bit of that white border. And I'm going to add a hello sentiment here. This is from Heffy Doodle, and I love this because it has the word die, but then it also has the shadow die that you can layer onto it. And I cut that shadow out of some of the darker navy blue pattern paper, so it really sticks out on this card and also picks up on the navy blue lines in that plaid pattern paper. So I had 3 of the flowers left and 3 of the birds. So I thought it would be fun to just create the card using that. So I have 1 flower and 1 bird in each of the openings. And I did go ahead and pop that up on some foam tape already. And then just gluing the little birds once I get them in place onto my flowers. And then I'll add a little bit of foam tape behind the rest of the bird that is hanging off of that flower, just so it's nice and level. I love how this card turned out. The flowers were so pretty. They were nice and big, and I think that they really draw your attention for this card. And those little birds are just so cute too. So once I get those all in place, to finish off the card, I'm simply going to bring in a black glaze pen for the eyes of the 2 birds that are open. That little birdie on the bottom has its eye closed, so I'm not going to add any gel pen to that. I'm going to place my hello sentiment above the top left of that bottom flower, and this will complete the first card. So for my second card, I decided to use the little French Bulldog ephemera and 3 of the heart balloons. This collection, when it was released a few years ago, was their Valentine's Day collection, but I have been able to make a ton of cards that are not Valentine's themed at all, and I think you can send love cards any time of the year. So I think these are a good example, or this card is a good example of that. I just am creating a really clean and simple card here. I'm adding some of that polka dot paper to the bottom, I guess maybe 1/3 of the card, and the rest of the card is just going to be the white cardstock. I did add that scalloped border that's from the 12 by 12 sticker sheet, and then I'm creating my own balloon strings. So I'm using part of the Slimline pull tab dies here for my balloon string. So just search in your stash and see if you have anything that might work. And if you don't, you can just also go ahead and just draw in those balloon strings with a marker, which would look really sweet as well. I thought it would be fun to add the balloon strings in that darker navy pattern paper, just to play off the balloon ties there, the little bows, which are navy blue as well. So I'm just playing around trying to get these into place, making sure my balloons are adhered together well so they don't come apart, and then adding those balloon strings as well. I'm going to make sure that they touch at the bottom so it looks like they're coming together and our little dog here is holding them. I will add these down straight to the card base with some liquid adhesive, but I'm going to pop up my little Frenchie here in front of it, and that will just give a little bit of dimension to this card. Very simple design, like I said, but I think it turned out super cute. I love this little dog and I couldn't stand not to use him. So I'm just going to add him in front of the balloon strings, and then I'm going to pull in a Heffy Doodle stamp set here. This is the Who Let the Dogs Out, and I'm going to use the sentiment, all you need is love and a dog. Super cute, goes perfectly, I think, you know, with the love, with the heart balloons, and then of course our little Frenchie here. So I'm just going to stamp that in some Versafine Clair Nocturne ink. This is my favorite ink to stamp sentiments. Just using my mini Misti there to make sure I get good stamping. And then I'll add the black glaze pen to his eyes and his nose, and that completes card number 2. So moving on to card number 3, if you saw the first video, I made a slimline card with the air balloon and I absolutely loved it. I think it was my favorite. So this card kind of is inspired by that slimline card. And if you missed that video, I will link it at the end of this video so you can go back and watch the first 35 cards I made. I had quite the crafty session. I really wanted to use up what I had left though, and you all challenged me to see if I could create some more cards with this, so that's what I did. I had a lot of these strips of paper, so I'm trying to make it look like I have a full piece of this bow pattern paper. So I'm going to adhere one each to the left and the right sides, and then I'm going to add the floral strip down the middle. I will just add a piece of the the cloud pattern paper. I cut that out with a stitched circle die, and I'm going to have that be the focal point for this card where my little air balloon is going to sit. And then I'm bringing in the Miss You word dies. Again, these are from Heffy Doodle. I'll bring in another one on a card in a moment that is thinking of you. But these sentiments are at a really great price point, and I love, like I said, that they have the shadow. It just helps it kind of stick out from whatever it is you're using on your background, especially with pattern paper. It just kind of breaks up. You can see using the white cardstock. I'm adding in some of my Heffy Doodle stitched clouds here. And then I cut out a couple from some of that cloud pattern paper that I had left. I didn't have much of that, and when I cut out my circle, I had a few. I was able to get this full-sized one, just fussy cut it out, and then I have that partial one up to the top right of the screen there that I'm going to fit on the card. But I like how that brings in and ties in the cloud pattern paper that I used behind the air balloon. And I believe that air balloon is cut out from one of the 12 by 12 paper sheets. So there's that card complete. Moving on to card number 3. Card number 4. This again is another very clean and simple card design. I just went ahead and used a corner rounder for the bottom of my card base as well as the pattern paper. So again, that plaid pattern paper is from the 12 by 12 sheet that I had left over. And then I just cut out a circle here again with a circle die. And if you're interested in seeing any of the products that I used up close, I do have them all linked down below in the description box. Those are affiliate links, which means if you click on them to make a purchase, I will get a small commission at no extra charge for you. So thank you if you shop with me. This is a way for companies to kind of support those of us who create, whether it be YouTube, blogs, or whatever, which is really great and is much appreciated by all of us to kind of help with our channel content, particularly on YouTube. So this is another clean and simple design. This I forgot to show you, but I did use an MFT card sketch as inspiration for this. So I did cut out a white banner here, just with a banner die that I had in my stash. And I'm going to use the word hi. This is from the Doodlebug All Occasions stamp set. I did use this in the first collection of cards that I made as well. And again, just trying to make some generic cards that I could send at any point and not that Valentine's related, even though that's what this collection was kind of geared towards. So here's another MFT sketch. This is 181. I find sketches really helpful when I only have scraps of pattern paper left. So here again, I'm going to try to make it look like I have a full panel of this floral piece of pattern paper. This is left over as well from the 12 by 12 pattern paper. But you can see I have that gap in the center. Not to worry though, I am going to cover that up with the striped pattern paper, just adding a piece of paper in the middle there just to make sure that this strip of paper that's going to go in the middle is nice and level. And I really like how that striped teal and white pattern paper breaks up the busy floral paper. So this circular focal point here with the flowers is actually a sticker from the 12 by 12 sticker sheet. And I just thought it was super pretty and of course matches that pattern paper perfectly. So I'm just going to add this to the center of that strip of paper with the stripes, and then using the hello word die again from Heffy Doodle, and just cut that out of some white cardstock for the shadow and some blue for the word die. I think again that ties in nicely with the navy blue in the center of the flowers. So originally I was going to leave it how it was, just clean and simple, but then I saw that I had a bunch of these flowers left over in my little container with all my ephemera. So I decided to try to use them instead of having them just kind of sit there, although I will be donating what I have left over to a teacher friend of mine for her kids in the classroom. So I am going to adhere this larger light blue flower so it's hanging off the card a little bit, and I will trim that up once I have all the other ones in place. But I love how the darker blue smaller flowers tied in with the sentiment. So I'm really happy with how this card turned out, even though I didn't plan to use those flower ephemeras. Feel like these are some nice bright and happy cards as we're kind of getting to the end of winter. It makes me think of spring with all those really bright colors. So onto this card, I'm going to use another MFT sketch here, and I had this little girl with the heart balloon and the bunch of flowers. I cut her out of one of the 3x4 cut-aparts. You can tell that it's not a piece of the odds and ends ephemera because it has the red border instead of a white border. But I had a full sheet of this graphic, I guess it's the icons from the pattern paper. I had a full sheet of the 6x6 left, so I cut that down just to a full-size A2 card, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I added the fishtail banner here with that dark blue polka dot paper. I decided to use the speech bubble from the sticker sheet that says "Pardon my French, but je t'aime," which is but I love you. And then originally I was using the "Your Sweet" sentiment in the balloon, but I decided to switch that up and use one of the sticker sentiments, which says "Mon chéri," and I'm just going to add that inside of the heart. So really cute. I just wanted to tie in the French on that balloon, but you could definitely stamp whatever sentiment you want inside the balloon to kind of fit the theme of the card that you're making. So I did pop her up on some foam tape, so she is raised from the back of the card, and then just going to use that black glaze pen again for the eyes, and that card is complete. Moving on to my next card. This is card number 7, and I'm creating another shaker card or slimline card. This time I'm going to create a shaker. So I wanted to use the flower cut apart here. So I did cut out a panel of that plaid pattern paper with my Heffy Doodle die. This is part of the pull tab die set for their slimline line. I went ahead and added some acetate from my window and added the foam tape so that it's raised off of my card panel. I just added some sequins here from Trinity Stamps, just using up some of my older sequins package. If it's still available, I will link it below, but just use whatever sequins that you have that match your pattern paper. This is a very clean and simple card design as well. And I'm bringing back the Hello Sentiment die from Heffy Doodle. Just cut that out of some light blue cardstock, and then for the word itself, just some white cardstock. And I love how this turned out. Very clean and simple shaker slimline card. So moving on to card number 8, I'm kind of down to the last bit of scraps of paper. So I'm going to use this really pretty pattern paper that has those Parisian icons on them. And then I'm also going to use this larger strip of the plaid pattern paper for the left-hand side. I just got some glue on there. You can see me rubbing it off with my finger. But I'm just going to simply add this to the left-hand side. And then I had a circle die cut with the bow pattern paper already cut out from my last set of cards that I didn't use. So I'm going to go ahead and use it on this card. I did add this really pretty scallop zigzag type border. This is from the sticker sheet again. Just where those two pieces of pattern meet to give it a more finished look. And I think that ties in with the pink bow tie paper as well, or bow. I'm just adding some cardstock to that right-hand side where the circle is going to hang off of that left-hand side pattern paper, and that scallop border just raises it a little, so I wanted it to be nice and even. And here's the Thinking of You Heffy Doodle die that I was talking about. Now I played around with the idea of adding an ephemera piece. I only had a few left. But in the end, I just decided to go with a very simple card with the Thinking of You sentiment. I thought there was enough detail in the pattern paper to the right-hand side that it carries the card well without an ephemera piece. So moving on to the next card, I was in the mood for Thinking of You cards. Clearly, I'm going to use this larger Thinking of You sentiment again. And I had a couple strips of the heart pattern paper left over. So this is a very similar design to one of the previous cards. I'm just adding a piece of that pattern paper to the bottom and the top, and then I will add this polka dot paper to the center. Now this strip here in the center is much larger than the previous card that I made, and I just have it so that it's more towards the top of the card. And then I'm going to add the Thinking of You. Now this also was an afterthought. I had a few of these heart stickers left over, and I thought it tied in well with that pattern paper with all the hearts. Now that is a very bold and busy pattern paper. So I think this card wouldn't be for everyone, but if you like really bold colors, that heart paper is just so pretty. So I'm going to add the pink stripe and the red stripe heart to the top of the sentiment, and then this brighter pink one with polka dots to the left hand of the sentiment. And I think that that just finished off the card nicely. So here's another clean and simple card design. I used the MFT sketch here. This isn't a card design I would probably naturally gravitate towards, but I really love how it turned out. I love clean and simple cards. They've always kind of been my favorite. And like I was saying for the last card, this heart paper is so bold that it carries itself well just with this large stitched heart. This is from Heffy Doodle. And then I did die cut out a fishtail banner sentiment strip here. One in white and one in this lighter kind of blue pattern paper. I wasn't quite sure which one I wanted to use, but I went with the lighter blue color. And I really think that pops nicely against the white background. So I'm bringing in the Love You sentiment stamp from Doodlebug. And I'm stamping the sentiment, sending love your way. I think this would make a really pretty anniversary card. And that's basically it for that card. Super simple. Really took no time at all, but I love how it turned out. Down to the very last scraps. This is a card design that I love to use smaller pieces of pattern paper up. So I just used a stitched heart die here. And I cut out a bunch of the hearts with the leftover pieces of pattern paper. And I'm just going to add them to my card panel here. Now, you have seen this design before a couple times. I often change up how many hearts I add to this card panel. So I've done it where I've filled up the entire card panel, and then fewer ones like this one here where I only have 3 rows of 3 hearts. So for this one, I'm bringing in the Miss You sentiment dies here from Heffy Doodle. And I think this is just a really pretty, clean, and simple Miss You card. So again, another one that's super easy to create. For my last card, I really loved this cut apart that says, I love you more than shopping. And this one, I'm just using up kind of the final few strips of pattern paper I had left. So I'm going to use the larger heart pattern paper to the left-hand side. This red pattern paper is also a monochromatic heart pattern. And then I'm going to use this strip of polka dots for the center. I really wanted to tie in the dark and light blue from the cut apart. And I'm also going to use this darker blue cut apart. And I'm just going to tilt that Love You More one so that the navy blue one is just peeking out from the back, and then I raise that up on some foam tape. And another clean and simple card. I decided I had this one full strip of this sticker, so I thought it was really fun, kind of whimsical and fun. So after I stuck down my little shopping sentiment square panel, I decided to put this on. So I'm just going to trim it up so it fits underneath there. And I just thought that that added a fun little extra to this card. I'm just going to finish getting this in place and then trimming it down, and then I'll give you a close-up of this final card. So here's what I have left over. I also forgot to show, I do have 2 sheets of 6x6 pattern paper left. It's the one with the tiny cut aparts that's more geared towards Valentine's Day cards. I'm not going to use that, so I'll donate it. I have a bunch of these square pattern paper from the 12x12 left over, and then not very much ephemera at all. So in total, I made 47 cards using this collection. I have quite a few of the stickers left, but that's okay. I mentioned in my first video that most of this I received as a winning from a crop that I went to a couple years ago. So I feel like I got tons of use out of this collection, and I encourage you to head into your stash, see what you have that you can play with, and create as many cards as you can with it. So thank you all for wanting to see me finish up this collection. I probably wouldn't have gone back to it if you all hadn't wanted to see what I could do with the leftover pieces after the first 35 cards. So I hope you enjoyed seeing me use up the rest of this collection. I will be working on the Doodlebug Made with Love soon, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you really soon in the next one. Bye!